Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night, which means it's another Wicked Horror Show live on the Dorkening Podcast Network. As always, I'm joined by Tony.
What is going on, people?
And Tony, you want to introduce our very special guest?
I will. She's actually in every single movie that I'm so excited to watch. Kate Kiddo, how are you?
Hi, Kate.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
Quite an intro you got there.
I know. If only the show was half as good. Am I right? I'm just kidding.
Sure.
But yeah, just out of curiosity, I don't know if Deadly Grounds was at that con that you were.
They
at.
were.
They were. It's a
Wait.
coffee company that was at the horror expo thingy.
It was at New Jersey Horror Con. Get it right, sir.
Whatever.
It was. They were there.
Wait, must have. I think I said yes because I was thinking bloody disgusting coffee.
That's a different. That's like a website.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah. No, I haven't. Are they?
Oh, they're amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
You're amazing as well, according to MK Ultra Hiking and Gear Review. I don't know if you know him. I'm assuming you do.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Nice. Well,
Hey,
there you
Mike.
go. Yeah, that's Mike. Hiking and Gear Review. Go check him out on YouTube. So we, Tony ran into you at the New Jersey Horror Con. Is that what it's called?
I did, and I apologize because I haven't been to many cons before, and I'm just getting into the swing of things. So going everywhere, and I was talking to Damien, and Kate was there, and I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, I know her from somewhere. I've seen her face, and it just didn't click. So then 2 and 2 came together, and I found her on Instagram. And like, first of all, let me apologize because again, like, I was out of my environment, and I'm like, listen, I know now I know I put a name to a face, and now I know you're in everything. I'm like, hey, listen, we have a podcast if you want to come on. And she's like, there's plenty other people in the movies. I'm like, yeah,
We've already had them all on. Yeah, we've already had them all on. But yeah, so that's the thing is I know your name definitely has come up more than once because 3 of the movies that you're in, we've had like a huge amount of people from these movies on the show. So I'm talking Dark Circles, Terror Trips, and Time's Up.
Uh-huh.
I know, like we've had people from all of those movies on here, and I know your name has come up. But then you're in another one called They Watch that I don't really know much about. So that's one that you said that you tend to forget about. But so let's get that off. Let's get that the start of everything. Tell us about They Watch. What's the deal with that one?
Well, first of all, the reason why I tend to forget to mention They Watch is because it went so smoothly compared to everything else. So I'm like, okay, this is it wasn't like a shocking experience in my life. It was very pleasurable. So it's by Everything's Fire. This is their production company. The director, Doug Henderson, and it was written by Peter Dukes. So without giving too much away, it's like a haunting film. There's a lot of drama elements to it. Very performance driven, wonderful. Damien's one of the stars of it. It's Damien and Ashlyn Yenny. Have you ever had Ashlyn?
I don't think so. No. Well, I see Hannah Fairman's in it as well.
Yes, Hannah's in it, and Dan had a cameo in it, and so the whole gang was back together for the watch as well. So.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we've brought up multiple times. I know Tony brings it up a lot, but it seems like there's like
I was literally about to say it before you.
I'm stealing the thunder. I'm stealing it.
Go ahead. It's all you.
So like it seems like there's like new groups of like it's almost like the Rat Pack, you know, where you have like the same people that like work on a bunch of different projects together, and I don't know. I mean, it's pretty awesome, especially like the people that tend to be in these movies are pretty great. So I'm very much looking forward to these movies, and now I've met you, so I'm gonna end up following your career as well. You know, unfortunately for you, I'm just kidding. But,
I'm sure.
So looking at your IMDb, like you've done a few things as far as acting goes, like on screen. How long have you been acting? Did you come from theater, or like how did you start?
Actually, if we go way to the beginning, I started acting in my local theater. I was a kid. I was like 6 years old when I first started, and it was a pretty big theater for my town until I had to stop it because, school was a little bit more important to my parents, and my mom was like, all right, this needs to stop. So because I couldn't miss any more classes, but so I had to stop that for years and years and years, and then grew up, got all my schooling out of the way, and decided to go back to acting. And I've actually only been acting on screen as a working actor for a little bit over a year, and that's it.
Wow. You're a little bit over a year, and you're in like 3 of the movies that I'm looking forward to.
Well, that's, I just really got lucky with the people that I work with. And I guess I didn't really shit the bed too much. And so they were like, all right, we'll bring her along. So yeah, I was very, very lucky. And if you track the history of like how things happen in the movies, usually it's pretty amazing. It's just very random things coming together, and things just keep happening. So,
that's pretty great, though. I mean, it's pretty awesome. I mean, so you didn't even go back and like try theater at all? It was just right to the movies?
Well, I was taking theater in college.
Yeah.
The big screen.
Yeah.
I was taking theater in college, and I did a few like just tiny things here and there, but no, I'm absolutely terrified of going back to theater. Really? And friends of mine who are theater trained, like Damien, for example, he's like, oh, you have to do theater. Theater is not like that. That's not my best Damien, by the way. I can do better. But yeah, he's constantly nudging me towards theater, but I'm terrified.
I can, especially with movies, you see yourself on the big screen, but you don't get that instant, reaction. If you're in theater and something goes wrong, it's like you're talking about comedy, where it's like, you know exactly what they're thinking at that point in time. If you messed up, if it was great or whatever, because it's instantaneous. But at least in movies, if a movie tanks, you're not seeing everyone's reaction to the. But I mean, then they go on IMDb and write like all these comments about whatever. But it's not like, okay, I'll take that. But if you're right in front of people, I wouldn't be able to do it either.
I could, yeah.
You'd have to seek out the comments to see the reviews like for your performance and your movie. But another thing is, and he's right about it, is when he said, well, my reason for not doing theater was like, oh my God, like you don't get a do-over like that night. Like you can't just go and do another take. He's like, well, thing is with theater, you take about a month to rehearse and prepare with your entire cast, and you know it A to Z and backwards, so it's different, and it's really intoxicating when you're actually on the stage. And I remember that from back when I was a kid, and that was the reason why I wanted to join theater when I was little, is because of the sheer like magic and excitement that comes right before you're about to step on the stage. And it's scary, but it's very gratifying, I guess.
Yeah, I could say. I mean, I like going to theater. Like, we used to go a lot more before the whole the pandemic thing. But, and it's there's a difference. Like I can, like there's shows that I've gone to see multiple times, and it's like a different experience every time, you know, because it all depends on what happens. Like I know it's not the same, but my nephew, he's like in high school, but he does stuff, and we just went to one of his plays, and like there was like an issue, like there was a like more than one issue during the show, and it made the show funnier. Like
right.
because it's like, okay, is the door really stuck, or is this part of the show? You know, like, but it was really stuck. You know, things like that, and someone forgetting that they had to come out on stage, and like tapping on the stage to remind them to come out. It made the show even funnier. But I don't know. It's a special kind of person that can do that.
I was just thinking that moment, because like you really have to think on your feet, you know, and sometimes lean into the funny that's happening. And I get flustered by it, and I'm like, will I be able to do that?
Yeah, it's my thing. Like I don't think I would have an issue like trying to make it funny. I just would have an issue with stopping trying. Like, you know, I mean, then we'd be like, all right, cool. I guess it's all me now. You know, I'm just gonna make dumb jokes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But are the like the critics of theater and the critics of movies like the same kind of person, or do they give you a little bit more leeway, or how does that work? Because I've never really
considering that she didn't act since she was like in sixth grade.
Well, it sounds like just her talking. It seems like she definitely wants back in. Well, as much as she said she's afraid, that statement before she said.
I'm just imagining, just real quick. I'm imagining like her critics from when she was in like sixth grade. Be like,
that girl in the chicken costume was shit.
Yeah, detention for 3 days, no recess for you. That'd be good. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think, like, even though it's terrifying, do you think you'll ever make the leap back?
I guess it would have to be the right group of people, because that, or with movies, like, not so much now. Like, I'm not that nervous about going on movies anymore, right? But it was very important, the team that you're working with. I got really, really fortunate that in the very difficult parts of the movie, or like I feel like I'm not getting what I need to get, or you know, the environment might be a little bit irritating or something like that. And I remember many of those situations where my cast was there for me, like for support, and that made a world of difference. So with something as terrifying as theater, that would have to be a component for sure.
So you said that you're not nervous on set anymore. What was the first job that you got that you were like, oh my God, if I mess this up, this is it? Like,
well, it was never like that. It was never like, oh my God, this is it. But I remember that, like, say for example, the first feature that I really count was Terror Trips. And I just remember being nervous because there were expectations. First of all, I had to do some fighting for which I had to train for a while. And I'm like, I'm not a flexible person. And you should see some of the home videos that I took of me throwing kicks. There is one where I fall flat on my ass.
You sent that in?
I did not. Okay. I told the director that I have it. He was like, please keep it for when we do need it. I'm like, you'll never see it.
Bloopers. Bloopers,
yeah. So, no, there was just a lot of expectations. And there's a line in the script that focuses on the appearance of my character. And it's seal of approval, so to speak. And and I was very nervous about that. I'm like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be like attractive. I'm supposed to like have physical prowess and all of those things that I wasn't really feeling for a while, because COVID was happening already and you were so used to looking like a potato on your couch. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And I know you guys have never been in this situation, but just a few words for the actors who are going on their first feature. Don't get your eyebrows done for your first time, like days before.
Kevin does his eyebrows every other week.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's constant. I shave my head and my eyebrows like once a week.
But well, don't dye them though.
Oh, all right.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Even if it's like a professional, which that's what I did. But still, if something's happening for the first time with your face, don't do it.
No. The first time, like don't audition with a beard and then shave it when you show up to the set. I just want to point out Sergio's in the chat room. He didn't know if he was going to be able to make it tonight because the People's Choice Awards are on. So he was like, "Oh, I'm torn," because he likes to watch that. I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry." But he's here, so I want to say, "Hey, Sergio."
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sergio.
Yeah. What up, Serge? So you were like, I forgot that Tony mentioned this. You were in Page Left Intentionally Blank.
Yes.
That I haven't seen it. I don't know why I haven't seen it because that's Joe Stoffer did that, right?
It is Joe Stoffer. I think it's down. I can't find it anywhere anymore.
Oh,
I think
that's too bad. I'm a Joe Stoffer fan. He's been on the show a ton of times.
Yeah.
Back when Pieces of Talent came out. And I'm obsessed with that movie. I have multiple VHSs of it. I have a bobblehead. I have T-shirts. All this stuff.
You don't have the tattoo though, do you?
I don't. Sorry, but I do have a Jason one, and I have a Leatherface tattoo.
Wait, and, nice.
Yeah, I'm a big Texas Chainsaw guy.
Okay, so, cool.
Yeah, I guess.
Did Joe tell you that somebody got a tattoo of his handwriting? Like there's something beautiful I want you to see.
Nice.
Might have. I think he mentioned that at one point in time because at one time we had like Christy Ray and David Long on a cut. Like we had the whole cast, and then so what's it called?
So it's on Emily Renee Gold's YouTube channel.
Emily Gold, perfect.
Thank you very much for that. I will track that down because I was pretty upset when things kind of fell apart with the next chapter of Pieces of Talent because I think Joe is super duper talented.
He's like a one-stop shop for everything from concept to final product. He's amazing. And Mike, who you just showed in the comments, Mike actually helps out a lot. He works with Joe Stoffer as well.
Really?
Yes.
Well, Mike, tell Joe that the guys from the Dorkening say hi because we miss him. Yes. And he's the best.
I miss them too. I haven't seen them in so long. But I really hope that we get to hang out soon. But with COVID and everything else, it's kind of been weird.
It's a tough thing. But that's cool that you get to work with that. I can't wait to check that out now too.
They were how I start. Like basically, Joe and Emily. So Emily Renee Gold, she works with Joe, so they're like a 2-person team and they can do everything. She's fucking amazing too. I mean,
it's okay. It's all right.
So she's great. And what was I gonna say? Yeah. I happened to work with them. That's how I started working crew in movies and like short films, stuff like that. So they were really wonderful in the way that they kind of took me in, and they were patient with me and all the things that I didn't know how to do. They were teaching me a lot. So I'll always be grateful.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's legit the year that movie. I think when I say it was 2015, that was like my favorite movie of the year. Like when I did like my top 10, whatever, it was Pieces of Talent was my favorite. Cool. So that says a lot, because I love movies. But so Terror Trips was your first like full feature. And so are you like a horror fan in general?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. I like to think of myself as that. Although here's the thing. I love watching the horror movies, but I'm so bad with trivia.
Mm-hmm.
So my friends always kick my ass at that when we play like the movie game, and they talk about all of these, like all of the actors and directors and composers and all of these.
But then you can be like, but I was in a movie with these guys, so shut your mouth. So
well, the problem is that they are the people in the movies.
Oh, whatever. I mean,
they're in the cooler movies.
But that's the thing. I mean, with certain things, with trivia, like me myself, I've seen so many and own so many and stuff, but it comes down to it like people always, okay, this person, like if I don't, like my thing is plots. Like if you name a plot, I'll be able to tell the movie, but to tell me the director or tell me a score or tell me like whatever, I'm not going to know it because I've seen too many. But you tell me a plot, I'll be able to do it. So don't feel too bad. I mean, I consider, I don't want to, I mean, I'm no Wolfie. There's another guy that comes on, the 13th Wolfman, that is like an endless knowledge of not only horror movies, but movies in general. Yeah. So he's the kind of person that puts me to shame because you name something and he can list off everything. I'm sure he could probably, recite the whole movie line by line too at this point. But, I'm not that. Not everyone's a Wolfie.
Right. Well,
I have a couple of those friends. Yeah.
Well,
annoying is what it is.
Exactly. That's what I'm gonna say. Like, not that Wolfie's annoying, but like we needed, like, I was doing like a hard trivia at a con. I was like, "Hey, Wolfie, can you help me with some questions?" And he came up with all these questions, and they were so hard, no one could answer them. Like you got to think this is a convention. Like people are like walking around dressed like Freddy Krueger because they like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like right. They're not going to be like, "Oh, what's all this Italian horror that only 5 people know about?" Like. Whatever. I mean, it's cool that he knows that stuff. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I went with it. I'm like, all right, here's something else. Name all the Jasons. Like, and then like they were able to do it. I'm like, all right, here you go. Here's a prize. But but what I was gonna say is like, so, being somewhat of a horror fan, were you intimidated by any of the people that are in the cast? Like, did you know of these guys before you got to Terror Trips?
Right. So here's how I even found out. So let's start from the beginning. It was COVID times. I'm scrolling through all the movies on my TV, and I'm looking at, what was it? It was Haunt. So I'm looking at Haunt, and I keep scrolling past it because this is the kind of person I am. I'll see a movie that I want to see, and I'll put it off till like the perfect time for it. Like, well, it has to be October. Oh, it's October, but I don't have, apple cider.
You have time.
Like, I have to make it a perfect environment before I like go watch a movie that I really want to watch. And I got on Terror Trips, and I became friends with the director, Jeff Seaman, and we messaged each other a lot. About all kinds of like movies. We'll just dork out, and I'm like, you know what? We're like, what are you watching tonight? What are you watching tonight? We'll kind of talk about that. I'm like, I've been meaning to watch this movie, Haunt. He's like, oh, okay, well, watch it. Tell me what you think. And I loved it. And then I messaged him about, what I thought. I'm like, oh, these guys are amazing, great performances, and like scary and stuff. He was like, yeah, well, who do you think you're working with on my movie? I'm like, wait, what? And so he told me that Cheney Morrow and Damien Maffei were in it. I'm like, oh, that's really, really cool. But to answer your question, no, for some reason, I've never really been intimidated. Well, there was a tiny period of time, but that only hit me when I was on the way to the cast house. And so all of us main actors were in the same house, and that's when it hit me. The night before I was supposed to meet everybody, like when I got there, it was already dark. Everybody had gone to sleep. I'm like, oh shit, it's really happening. What if they're so much cooler than me and they hate me? Which I knew they were. I'm like, they've been in all of these things, and they're gonna look at me like, who is this chick, like in our glass house? But to my surprise, the next day when we did meet each other, we just stayed up till 4:30 in the morning, like we were best friends. So
that's awesome.
So yeah, it was great. Great.
Kevin brought up like the Rat Pack and whatever, and we like he said, I say it all the time, but looking at certain movies, especially like indie horror, it's important because some movies you can tell, you've worked together before them. It just comes off the screen like it's like an everyday kind of thing. Like it's not a movie. It's like you knew each other for years and years and years. Then there's other movies that they put together and you can definitely tell there's no like meshing. Like you might not like each other. So you saying, staying up till, 4 o'clock, just hanging out, just talking. You can definitely tell that. I'm sure when we actually see the movies, you can actually tell.
You're talking in the future. We haven't seen the movies yet.
You'll be able to tell because we're all gonna look like shit.
You're gonna be wicked tired.
Like nobody got any sleep. No, I'm just kidding. They looked wonderful. They were great.
So that's the thing, is it's like, even though like I mean, out of like most of the cast that you've worked with in like all 3 of these movies I'm talking about, the only one that I've met in person, I would say, is probably Felissa, and Daniel, because Felissa's in one of them, right? Is she in? Well, she's in Dark Circles.
Felissa is in Dark Circles. She was also in Time's Up, and she usually produces also.
Okay.
So she was one of the producers on Terror Trips as well, and Time's Up and Dark Circles.
Nice. Well, she's the only one that I've met in person, and she's fantastic. But she's like, I don't know, the nicest person to ever like see at a convention. She like remembers everybody, and she's just like the best hugger ever. But so that's the thing, is I like, if I ever get a chance to meet Damien in person, I'll probably be intimidated.
That's the other thing too. At that point in time,
yeah.
Again, at the con, it was just like, again, there's only, I guess, one time that I got starstruck, and that was with Jodie Sweetin, and because I had the biggest crush on her for Full House.
Stephanie from Full House.
So she was at Chiller, and I couldn't even talk. Like I usually can, I don't shut up, but it's like, I was like, and the buddy I went with, he's like, okay, say something, you know, and then words just didn't come out. I did not say one word. I shook my head yes, and that was about it. But then meeting Damien too was like, plus he's like, you know, a bigger guy, so he's like intimidating a little bit.
I can't tell how big he is. I always is he tall? Is he short? Like I'm just like, I'm trying to. I can't imagine.
So he was more intimidating than I expected. So finally meeting him in person, I was like, okay, and then it just threw me for a loop. So he was awesome too.
From like a fan standpoint, though, like it's something where it's intimidating because maybe these people have been like a big part of your life, kind of deal. Even though you've never met them before today or whatever, like, you know, you grew up watching something like I bring it up a lot, but like I got to getting cool with Tony Todd at one point, and like he affected me to the point of whenever there's a big change in my life, I have nightmares about people shooting bees out of their mouth because of Candyman. And but at the same time too, like I see him at conventions and he's super nice, and he invited me to a play, and that was another reason why I think you should get into plays, because it was so powerful and so different. But you know, it's I don't know. And I told him that, like, after, like, the next time I saw him, I'm like, I really appreciate that you invited me to that. And he's like, oh, no. I'm like, you have no idea. Like, from a fan standpoint, that's huge. Like, I'll be telling, like, everyone I know for the rest of my life that Candyman invited me to a play. Like,
yeah.
Stop people on the street.
Yeah.
I got invited to a play, just stopping random people.
Yeah.
That's nice. Cool. COVID. Yeah,
no, I haven't really. I don't know why. Maybe it's because like I eased my way into like the movies. So like when I worked crew, it goes up and down. Like you work with bigger stars, smaller stars, and stuff like that. So you kind of ease your way in, and I guess I learned to accept it all as you know, normal. I just saw Andy McDowell yesterday. I worked with her. Nice. Yeah, she's just super sweet, but just for one day.
That's pretty awesome.
I know, she's great, and I've been seeing her my entire life. But that the one example that you were talking about, you know, like watching a person and then meeting them in person. This is a very like childish thing. My friend and I, like from my childhood, we used to love Charmed, the TV show, the witch TV show. Huge fans, super fans. If we were allowed to get tattoos, we would probably do that when we were little. So we were at a con where like Brian Krause was there, so he's one of the main stars of it. And I was like, oh man, that's wow, I just watched this guy. And I walked up to him and, we had a conversation, and then we all went out to dinner, and it was like all normal. We would go outside, sit on the, get some fresh air and whatnot. And I took a picture with him and I sent it to my childhood friend. And he was like, so he freaked out way more than I did. I was like,
he wasn't even there. Yeah.
I was like, hey, just telling Brian about us two dorks, loving charms. He was like, Brian Krause knows who I am.
Like, no, he doesn't. He knows who I am.
He knows of you.
Yeah. That's pretty great though. I mean, and again, it's maybe if I was in that situation where I work, behind the scenes and stuff like that, I'd be able to deal with it. But I'm the kind of guy that I'd just get kicked off the set because it'd be like, hey, tell me about this. I'm like, they'd be like, shut up, leave.
Sir, we have to shoot. Get out of the scene, please.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, it's pretty awesome. I love the whole like thing behind it too, like just how it works. And you always think that like things, are before this show, before we started doing this, I always used to think like, oh yeah, they filmed it in order or they filmed whatever. I'm like, that's the farthest from the truth as it could possibly be. It all depends on who's available and when and whatever. And there's just a lot. Like there's a lot of sitting around I've noticed. At least on the sets that I've been on. I've only been on 2 sets, but there was a lot of sitting around.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. A lot. When you're talking about the shooting things in order and stuff like that, one thing that blew my mind when I first started, I worked on TV as well. Well, sometimes I still do like work crew jobs and stuff. I started out, I was on, what was it, American Idol or something? I think it was American Idol. And when I watched things, I realized that the judge commentary was not the same for what it actually was. So like it could be they're giving commentary like for one person's performance, but that
putting it somewhere else.
Right, was from somewhere else. It's like, oh wow, that's
That's there's a lot of things that I kind of think I noticed. Like me and my wife, we watch a lot of garbage TV. Like that's the only stuff that we'll watch together. And it's like you can hear someone like doing a voiceover, like a comment, and like one word sounds like it's completely out of like this the wrong sentence. I'm like, they just pieced that together. There's no way that sentence was real.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is what it is. So sir, it was David is asking. He's late. What did he miss?
Oh, David J. David J is the reason why I'm a working paid actor.
Nice. Thanks, David. So you missed a lot. We talked about acting when she was a child and stuff like that, and how she got into it. We should touch on some of the other movies. So, Terror Trips, your first like
that was feature. Because of Dave, by the way.
That's because of David. Thank you, David. And another one you really can't give too much away on because that's probably the one that's coming out the soonest, right?
They watch?
No. Terror Trips.
Oh, Terror Trips. Yeah. Well, it's already on, I believe, like some festival circuit right now. Mm-hmm. I know that it was showed in Europe, somewhere over there. No, I didn't. Shut up.
Well, now we have to hear about this.
Before Russian grandma, we need to hear about this Russian grandma.
Okay. So. If Dave keeps asking questions, we won't have enough time. But the grandma story is just the sweet story of how my love for horror started.
Okay.
So, yeah. I'm Russian, born and raised. You can probably tell.
A little bit. For real, I was going to ask when I was like, is it rude to ask what the accent is? Like I was going to ask, but I didn't.
It's Russian. Okay. Usually it's the word karaoke that gives it away completely. We found out. It's a very conservative place, as you can probably imagine, especially with the older generation. And when I was 6 years old, like my parents had divorced when I was little, and my mom was dating someone, and I was 6, and he would take me to his mother's house, and it was like an old apartment, and like with creaky floors, and it was all like old and stuff. And she is an older lady, obviously. She's a grandma. She's got a granddaughter, a little bit younger than me. And I remember on the weekends, she would like dim the lights. We'd just have like one lamp. And she's scanning the TV guide for horror. And she would sit us down in front of the TV. She was like, tonight we're watching The Bride of Chucky.
Wow.
Okay. So that was my favorite pastime, like to go to her house because I knew she was going to sit us down and show us horror movies.
And scare the crap out of you.
Actually, it never was a thing, like because she was so excited and she loved all things Halloween and all the weirdness. And she was kind of that piece of weird in a otherwise very conservative life, I guess. And I loved her, and I was talking about her on a different show, and I missed her, and I told my mom that I mentioned her. She's like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy! We have to catch up with her." But we found out that she passed away.
That's too bad.
Well, she was, she was an older lady, so I mean, she had a.
Did you see this? I realized I put it up and didn't read it. She's actually an undercover spy sent to infiltrate the indie horror scene, and I'm her American handler.
That's right.
Like Burn Notice or something like that.
Right. Dave, you know that you're not supposed to tell that.
Damien's asking for you to tell how he's your favorite actor and how nice his hair is.
His hair.
It's glorious.
Sure is. He's got great hair. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I have none. I have zero hair. I shave my head because I'll have the horseshoe. But one of these days, I don't know how long you've been watching, Damien, but I was talking about how eventually I'd like to actually meet you in person because I can't tell how tall you are.
It's not about him.
I know it's true. That you're completely correct. So
you don't need to inflate this, guys.
Okay, what was it like working with Damien all these times?
Well, I was telling you about how having a good support system with your cast is really important. And working with Damien started even before we stepped on set because I was working through certain things and thinking about things or whatever, like thinking through character. I also had to tell him how to say things in Russian for his role.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. Initially, he thought that I was not going to help him, and he thought I was a terrible person. But anyways, so we started working on things before we stepped on set, and I remember that I could share certain concerns that I might have had as an amateur, and knowing that he is a very experienced actor and stuff like that. So he was a great support to me, and continues to be throughout these movies, definitely, because there are difficult situations on set and the way that people shoot things sometimes. Like, okay, so one of the things that I always remember and appreciate when we were shooting my coverage, and he was just there when he didn't have to be. That's what that's the kind of person that he is.
Nice.
So yeah, like anybody else could have just went somewhere.
He's 6'1.5" apparently, and then also apparently
if his hair is flat,
a total sweetheart, and anyone who says otherwise is a piece of shit. So it's good to know. And Alfredo saying hi, hello. So yeah, so that's great. I mean, to have this support system, and like we were saying before, it seems like you guys are like a new crew, like making all the movies that I want to see. Yeah. So that being said, I know like you have a bunch that are is Dark Circle still filming? I thought it was done.
It is done for the most part. We are working on a little tiny addition to it. So, but yeah, it's pretty much done. Our editor is working on it right now.
Nice.
So he's fantastic.
So any estimates on when any of these movies are going to come out, or is it going to be one of those things where I'm going to be talking about it for the next year?
Man, I don't know. I think last thing I heard, well, obviously Terror Trips is done. And I think it's supposed to come out. I can't remember. It should come out and hit the certain theaters soon.
Nice.
Yeah, in a few months. And I heard that They Watch is currently in post-production. It's very close to a rough cut. So a few more months as well. I have a feeling that all of these things are going to hit at pretty much the same time.
Yep. I'm okay with that as long as I can.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
You buy them all and watch them. I'm fine with that.
Right.
Sergio's asking. He always asks, "Do you have a favorite horror movie?" Like I know you said that it was your child. Yeah. So what would your favorite horror movie be?
Of course. I am saying, of course, that's a question. It's a very tough one.
It is.
So I did say on the other show that it was Bride of Chucky because of the sentimental component of it. So that's still there. So my sentimental movie is The Bride of Chucky. And my favorite horror movies keep changing.
Yep.
But this Halloween season, for some reason, I got the bug for a foreign found footage exorcism movies.
Okay.
I don't know why that specific category was in my mind when I was like, what should I watch? And I found Dobby, the demon the possession, Dobby the Possession or something like that.
The name, the Dobby sounds familiar.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Okay.
DABBE, and it is a Turkish found footage exorcism. Nice. And it's like 3 hours long. And that was just perfect for my Halloween because I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Give me all the demons. I'm here for it. So,
just out of curiosity, have you seen some of Hannah's other stuff that she's done? So obviously VHS, which is where I first knew her from, and she scared the crap out of me. It still scares the crap out of me. I'm like, she's like such a a pretty lady, and like, how is she just so terrifying? Like I'm just like, I would run away. I would just run away. Yeah. She was in a comedy show that I like out of the UK.
Ghost of London?
Yes. Where she was. I absolutely love Matt Berry. I
love Matt Berry too.
Oh my God. He's fantastic. And the thing that stinks is that I found out that she was on this episode as we were talking to her on the show. I was looking at her.
Fanned out for like
you were on Toast of London? What? Like I couldn't believe it. But yeah, it's weird. It's like a small world. It's like I can't believe that I don't know. It's weird. Like
that you're in touch with these people that work on cool stuff that you like.
Yes, exactly. But so yeah, I was gonna say because she was possessed in that episode, so that made me think of it.
Oh yeah, I love it too. Well, I haven't watched too much of that show. I watched the episode that Hannah was in because Hannah was in it.
Yeah.
But I remember we were filming Terror Trips and we're sitting at the table outside, having a jolly good time, and she gets a text from Matt Berry.
Nice.
Like, oh, we should go out for a pint. And I was like, fuck you. I wish Matt Berry was texting me. We should go out for a pint. Like, okay, whatever.
Because I think because when we were on, I mentioned Toast of London. She's like, oh, actually, they got picked up for another season. They're going to do it in the U.S. And so she messaged him telling him congratulations. All that stuff. I'm like, I just want to see that whole chain. I just want, like, that's all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, that dude's hilarious.
I love the guy too, and the reason why was because what we do in the shadows.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm guessing
for me, there's I like a lot of like British comedies, and he was on a show called The ID Crowd. He was on a show called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, which is ridiculous. But I've been a fan of his for a while, for a really long time.
Oh,
so
cool!
I'm psyched that he's like picking. He's actually doing well in the U.S. Like.
Yeah.
I'm just psyched because before he was just a UK guy. you know.
And I think that might be the reason why they're shooting a Toast of London in the US, probably because they're working on What We Do in the Shadows also. I think they're still filming the other episodes.
TV show.
So they might be, they might be doing that simultaneously. Good
so,
show.
Yeah. So you were you mentioned that you were working on some TV. Do you think you'll get into maybe some TV work like acting wise? Is that something you want to do? Because it's sometimes if it's a series, it could be more steady work, you know.
Yeah, of course. But any job is really about the story, not really much else. I know that sometimes like there's a danger of like becoming that character for the rest of your career.
Right. Yeah.
So you just have to choose wisely. But basically, it all hangs on the story of what the story is. If you're okay with being associated with that character for a long time, then it's worth it. So I would love to like it. To me, it's not really a matter of whether it's a movie or a show. It's just a good story or interesting character. That's
awesome. I mean, it's cool because you haven't been doing it that long. Like you said, it's like pretty much only been like a year and you're already pretty grounded, you know? It seems to me anyways, like that's great.
Yeah, I was going to say with it only being a year and then you had, movie back to back to back to back, did it make it a little easier, the progression? Or you also said, each movie has its own, difficulties and stuff that, I mean, how many times that we had people come on and seeing a movie and hearing what happens behind the scenes is two different things. Like I watch movies completely different than I used to because it's just like, you have no idea what goes on behind the scenes that, maybe this might not have been what they really wanted to put out, but they had to put out something. So like in progression, like did it make it a little easier or was each one its own like challenge, I guess you want to call it?
Okay. Well, it does get easier anxiety-wise because at first you're tackling a whole new career, and it's not just about the performance and how well you can play a character, but also when you're in the movie, you have to have a little bit of an understanding of how production works, what camera things are going to do for you or against you or whatever, and how to work with those people because everybody has their own like department or job, and you have to kind of understand where they're coming from. And those are performing is hard enough, but then you have to know all those kinds of things. So as you get a little bit more experience and you learn about the other side of the lens, for example, it becomes a little bit easier each time, obviously, because more experience. But every movie, it's no matter how good it is, it's always a new shit show. Like really, there's just no way around it. Every movie, something goes not according to plan. And it's not a bad thing. This is actually one of the reasons why I love this industry is because it's kind of fun. Like it's a little bit thrilling how there's going to be chaos and you'll see the best of people and you see you'll see them at their worst as well. And it's very interesting and the overcoming of those issues that do come up.
Yeah.
And that's how you pick your group of friends too, and you stick with the good ones.
There you go. Yeah. And Samantha is saying that it'd be interesting to see you in the Chucky series since you mentioned Bride of Chucky.
Oh, hi, Samantha. Thank you.
I still haven't checked that out. I still haven't checked out the series.
I haven't checked it out.
Well, they picked up a second season, so you have a chance.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I just haven't,
If Christine puts in a good word for me, then sure.
There you go.
She likes me.
Well, that's all you have to do is all you have to do is audition and be like, "Hey, listen, my favorite movie is Bride of Chucky," so that kind of puts me right in the mix of things. So
let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like, I mean, it's pretty much my movie. Like I made it. Okay.
Exactly.
Guys? So,
exactly. So for those that are listening, because this is going to go up as an audio podcast in a week as well. But yeah, definitely make sure you're on the lookout for Terror Trips, Time's Up, They Watch, and Dark Circles.
Yes.
Look at all that, all coming out within like a year of each other, probably. I'm just hoping. I'm hoping because the one thing that is, as Tony and I are fans, and some of the other guys that come on the show, we hear about some of these movies, and it's just like some of them have never come out. It's just like, oh man, like I really wanted to see this, and it's just like just happens.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason.
All the time. But no, these these I think they all have a pretty good chance.
Yeah, I mean they've all. I mean, I don't know much about They Watch, but it sounds interesting for sure.
Look, it's wonderful, and I love this script. And Doug is such a wonderful director. I think he really deserves to. He's just very humble. That's the problem. I call him a very nice, sane Kubrick. But he's very sweet.
Counter whatever it's called. I don't know. Contradiction. There you go.
Yeah. I remember they were raising. They had a crowdfunder for the movie before we started shooting, and it wasn't. He didn't make a bang because he's just so humble and sweet and nice, and he's not gonna be like one of those like very loud guys promising things and trying to make more noise than
right.
So
but yeah, I mean it's tough though. I mean maybe because I know like with Dark Circles, I know like they raised a bunch of money for that, and like that went really well. So I mean maybe it depends on like who you have.
Well, the thing is, we work on every one of the campaigns really hard. Like we have a core crew that loses sleep over this stuff. Yeah. So, and that was an ordeal too with Dark Circles because the film was originally called something else. That we're not going to say what it was.
I personally like that name better. Like
Me
the other
too.
name,
Oh
the name is, I think it's sick. I love it
because just seeing that name somewhere, it's like I want to see this. Like Dark Circles is good, but it's just like so generic that it's like I think I've seen 10 movies with some kind of the other one. It's like okay, well I have to check this one out because I've never heard anything like it. So
right,
I at least have this.
Oh, nice. Oh my god, I'm jealous.
Yes, I believe it's vintage. No,
it's a rarity. Yeah.
So I love it, and I love the name too. But we had to change it because apparently all the social media, all of the internets were shadow banning us, and we had no idea until 4 days till the end of the campaign.
That's crazy.
And all thanks to Hannah's status on Facebook. She was like, "What gives, guys? Like I always support my friends, and you guys don't support my movie." And they're like, "What are you talking about? What movie?" And that's how we found out.
Wow. So, yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's legit. Like, it was one of the cooler names. I mean, and it's unfortunate that stuff like that has to happen, but maybe when it gets like an actual release, it can be Dark Circles with like the little like below it, little like subtitle kind of thing.
It used to be even longer. It was the events surrounding a peeping Tom and the horror that followed.
See, that's cool too.
That's cool too.
Yeah, I like a movie that you have to have a couple pages in order to read the title. That's what I like.
Right. Like my favorite, one of my favorites is Don't Be a Menace to South Central while you're drinking your juice in the hood, the Wayans Brothers one. And it's just like having to read a sentence to say the name of the movie. It's just like now I gotta definitely check this one out.
You shouldn't have to take a breath.
Except for those like made for TV, not made for TV, but like scary movie ripoffs where it was like the Spartans meet the whatever, because those movies were. But Don't Be a Menace to South Central while you're drinking your juice in the hood is one you have to watch.
I've never seen it, so I probably will have to watch it at some point.
Because that's like takes like the Menace to Society and Boys of the Hood and all that stuff, and makes it a scary movie, like a spoof movie of that.
Right.
One of my favorites.
I know what it is. I used to work at in the video department of many stores because retail stinks. But anyways, we're just about wrapped up here. So where can people go to to find out more information about your projects and everything you're working on?
I always announce the things that we're working on. Obviously, if they follow me on Instagram, that's where I do most of my posting. It's Kate.Kiddo, Kiddo, if you know. But yeah, we have a Dark Circles film, I believe, on Instagram. But you'll definitely find links to all of those.
I think the only one I couldn't find like a link to was They Watch, actually.
See, I'm telling you, because Doug is just like, oh, it's nothing. It's just my movie. Like, what?
Well, actually, you know what? I was thinking, because you were talking about like the crowdfunding and how people lost sleep. I want to say the first person that told me that crowdfunding is actually like a full-time job was Joe Stauffer.
Oh, yeah. That's why.
Because of how much work he put into a missing piece that was going to be coming up after a piece of the talent.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting like letters and stuff.
Letters in the mail. I remember I got it years ago with my parents, and they're like, "What is this?" Like, it's like evidence for like a death and all that stuff. Right. It's just like, okay, well,
it was genius. But at the same time, too, I'm like, dude, how do you sleep? Like, I don't understand.
That's another thing about Joe, and Joe is one of those guys that is super duper humble, and he will not self-promote, or he will not just go and like make connections for the sake of making connections. He is always like he's there for the art constantly. And sometimes I'm like, dude, why don't you just go, like, there are all these jobs, like, why don't you go and meet some people, tell them. He was like, nah, I don't want to do that. I'm like, ugh. And I totally understand and respect that, but I feel like he deserves so much more.
Yeah.
So, because he really is a super talented guy. And I've seen Joe in the editing room because, I used to visit them a lot at their house. And he would just sit there, like, while Emily and I are still, having fun, having a little girl time. Joe is already at his computer after a long day of shooting. So, he's a great guy. I really, hope that his movies get.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he was the first one that mentioned that it's like a full-time job, and it's tough. I mean, especially if you put that much work into it and it doesn't pan out. Like, I don't know, man. That's tough. It would crush me. But the good thing is you're in 4 movies that are coming out, so that's a plus. And again, these are 4 movies that I'm very much looking forward to, so I can't wait personally. And hopefully one of these days, maybe both you and Damien will be at a con, and I can meet you both at the same time.
Oh, certainly. And there's probably going to be other people who are part of the Motley Crews.
Yeah.
we usually stick together.
I'll tag along with Daniel John and be like,
introduce me. He'll definitely be there.
Oh, totally.
He found me, and I was just like, oh, 1, you're tall, and 2, it's like, oh, you can't like found me because with cons it's just so back and forth, and who knows what's going. Like, people are just everywhere, and then he's like, oh, it's Tony. I'm like, oh, Daniel.
Is that whole experience something new to you as well? Like, did you ever like go to cons and stuff before all this?
No, I never went to cons like as a fan to go. Like, it just never happened. But when we started doing movies, like, we kind of, I was like, well, you should go check it out, start talking to people and, whatever. So no, not as a fan, just hi. That's Tyan. Hi. So yeah, never, but cons are so much fun, in my opinion.
They're very, very tiring, but they're a good time.
Expensive too, I'll tell you that much. But definitely,
especially as a patron, you go broke.
I learned quickly, but it's an experience that now my buddy's like, you're gonna catch the bug. I'm like, especially the first couple, I'm like, I don't know, I think I have the bug because it's just so awesome meeting everyone and just the experience and the feeling of it. So
and MK Ultra Hiking Gear Review is saying it's 100% accurate about Joe. He puts his heart in everything, and that is completely true.
And Mike puts his heart into the wilderness and hiking. And he's hilarious, actually. If you've ever seen Mike's videos, he's so funny.
I will check him out for sure. I watch videos about stuff that I have no interest in ever, but if they're entertaining, I'm just like, I'm all about it.
Yeah,
there's a talent there. So I'll check that out too, Mike. So Tony, where can people find you?
You can find me at Tony Has Nine Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews, unboxings, anything movie related will be on my channel. Tony Has Nine Fingers on Twitter. Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me. Tony Has Nine Fingers on TikTok, where I do not twerk. I just do. It's work. I put up reviews and stuff. And check out the Wicked Horror Show Instagram that we have up to see, future guests and stuff. And then, of course, you can find me here on the Wicked Horror Show. But I do have to plug a little bit of something, because this coming Thursday on it's 4K D-Ray. I just started. I post pictures, and this one guy contacted me. He's like, "You got to go on this guy's challenge. It's a Blu-ray collector challenge where there's like 8 different topics. You hold up something to go with that topic, and then people judge." So this Thursday, I'm actually going to be on his page. It's going to be like a challenge. So if you're interested in movie collecting, if you're interested in seeing what other people have, go to 4K D-Ray at 9:00 Eastern Standard Time PM and watch me, challenge. So Kevin,
you win.
I hope I win too.
Yeah, you can find me at A-Knuckle on Instagram. Also, besides doing the show with this and doing reviews with the 13th Wolfman over on the audio side, I'm part of Black and White Fright and Secret Underground Hideouts, all of which are on the Dorkening Podcast Network. Go to thedorkening.com for more information there. Thanks for listening/watching, and have a good night. Goodbye.
Bye.